What is up, guys? Charles from Team COG coming to you guys here with my DDD deck profile. I ended up taking this deck to the last two locals. One was on the Versus series and then the other night, and I've only gone X1 with the deck, and I just feel like I'm waiting on literally Nightmare Thrones, which I'll showcase you what I'm like playing instead. And I didn't want to showcase you guys a deck profile, but I've just had such success with the deck that I just honestly really wanted to showcase a profile. Even though it's really standard, I had this list of weeks during the Versus series prior to YCS Pittsburgh, and literally to see that the Georgie, the man who piloted this deck in the feature match, his list was very similar to mine. Again, gave me a little bit of, I guess, justification for some of my card choices and my card count. So with that being said, please remember, if you guys enjoy this type of content, you know what to do. Ding that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, hit that join button if you want to help support the channel directly. Everything that gets put in the channel gets put right back into it. And yeah, there's not really much to say. The past two locals, I'm like X2 with the deck. One of the losses was definitely like out of my control, completely out of my control. And then this last loss, which will probably be brought up onto the post-commentary feature match, which I'll be commentating over. I lost because of me, which is awesome. I love combo decks that reward skillful player. It like kind of like makes it to where it's like worth putting time into a deck, so that way you get to be better with it and everything. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and jump on into the deck profile. I have the deck sorted in engine, non-engine, and stuff like that. So anyway, we are on to triple DDD Doom Queen. This card is so insane, man. This card is literally another new one-card combo. She does so much. She's a hidden effect to destroy. In fact, in one of my point of view matches, I ended up triggering her effect by destroying a dark contract. And I told my buddy, I was like, effect to special summon and destroy. It's all one effect. You have a response. And he was like, no. And I ended up popping up droplets, which droplets have been running rampant at our locals. So, because we have a lot of branded players and stuff like that. She's also a one-card combo. Moving on to Kepler, the OG. This is also a one-card combo, the original starter of the deck. This card is awesome. Searches the Dark Contract on normal or special. One of the cool things you can do if you already have access to Dark Contract with Kepler, Kepler can grab you the Dark Contract with either the Gate or the Zero King, depending on which one you have. And then the Zero Queen can place the Dark Contract with Eternal Darkness, making your board even immune to Super Poly, which is pretty crazy. But moving on now to the extenders, I feel like, so this is incorrect, and I'll explain why. I play 3 Count Surveyors, and this is not correct at all. You should just play 1 Count Surveyor, and these 2 should be Nightmare Thrones, but I've just been waiting on my Nightmare Thrones. I've not got them yet. My buddy Rico was supposed to get them to me, but he had like a Genesis tournament and stuff like that, and I didn't zip down to visit him to get them, so 2 of these should 100% be Nightmare Thrones. So before people comment down below, list is garbage, don't play 3 Count Surveyor, I know, I understand, I just didn't have a better replacement. Played 2 Nightmare Thrones, and go that way. This card is also like, it's an extender, but it's also a 1.5 card starter. Any discard can also get you into full combo, but it puts you 1 summon in more to nib, because this deck like doesn't have the ability to prevent nib, it just plays through it. I have truly never met a deck that truly plays through nib like this. As long as you get to King Tell, if they nib you there or nib you after Gilgamesh, it doesn't matter. Like, you've already been able to play through nib and set up your entire board pretty strong. So it's just kind of strange, because most decks, everyone like tries to create sequencing or combo lines that get you to some sort of form of disruption before your 5th summon, and this deck just doesn't care. Nib is literally the most irrelevant hand trap. Like, even Droll hurts more, and this deck literally drolls itself to play around Latrami. So like, and that's saying something. But moving on to extenders, rest of the time we're playing 3 DD Griffin. This card is literally insane. You want to get this card into rotation. And then double Scale Surveyor. This card's also pretty wild. I've contemplated playing this guy at 3, but I think 2 is a good number. I think the correct count for Scale and Count, it would be the correct, the three of these guys. So 6 extenders right here. Moving on to like the one-ofs that you never want to see, but the cool thing about this deck is even if you do see your one-ofs, like, you almost always have the ability to still combo with opening your one-ofs, where sometimes with decks, if you have your one-ofs, you're not able to play, right? Like, it causes awkward or weaker boards, but this deck's like entirely different. If you see any of your one-ofs, you just search for a different piece, and you just keep playing. But 1 Copernicus, 1 Orthros, 1 DD Abyss King Ragnarok, 1 Necro Slime, and 1 Land Soldier. So I'll put his stuff down here. I watched his videos on how to play through all the hand traps, and he is a remarkable resource, so I highly recommend checking him out, because he just did a remarkable job. But some professional, I should say, DD players are talking about cutting Orthros, and I, in my limited experience, don't see how you could do that, because this card lets you make Siegfried so easy, and also allows you to make Clovis also easy in some instances as well. So I don't know about cutting this, but so Copernicus is part of the combo sequence. You summon it from the deck to dump the Land Soldier. This card allows you to spot removal, but also you pop itself. It can potentially trigger the Queen up here as well by popping a Dark Contract. Ragnarok is kind of like you put it in scale. Essentially, you're always putting Orthros and Abyss Ragnarok in scale, with the Gilgamesh, but if you ever open any of them, you have multiple ways to use the scale surveyor here to bounce back a scale to free up your scales once you place them with Gilgamesh. You have multiple ways to do things, right? It's just, the deck is so crazy. It's like a clock, man. Everything fine-tunes and works together. We are expecting a new card out of the new set called Alfred, which, if you guys don't know, this entire deck is like based on like kings and ancient like scientists like Kepler, Copernicus. You know, then you have like you have, of course, well, Zeus is like not a king, you know, he's a deity, but you have Gilgamesh, which is, you know, famous from the epic of Gilgamesh from Babylonian myth or Mesopotamian myth. Then you have, you know, Siegfried from Norse mythology. I think it's Norse mythology, but he slays a dragon called Fafnir. You have, of course, you know, High King Caesar, you know, you name it. So that's what's cool about the deck, is we're getting King Alfred, who is based off of Alfred the Great, and he is just a polymerization. He fuses into like a level 6, which might allow this deck to be able to put something up before the 5th summon, but I've not experimented with the card yet. But Necroslime is a fusion from the graveyard. Land Soldier is your level 2 extender that allows you to like modulate levels, which is really cool. You could play, essentially, I think it's called Defense Soldier if you want to. It's a really cool card. It's just, there's just so many good cards now in DDDs that you just kind of got to fit. Like even Lamia, you could probably find a way to play old school Lamia, which came out with the structure deck a long time ago. But moving on to the Dark Contracts, we are on to triple Dark Contract with the Gate. This is another 1-card combo. So as you guys can see, we have a total of 9 1-card combos, and if I had the 2 Nightmare Thrones, we'd have a total of 11 1-card combos. You could potentially play a Magic Mastery as well to have 12 1-card combos, which is probably the correct ratio to do, to be honest with you. And then we're on to the 1 Dark Contract with Zero King and 1 Dark Contract of Eternal Darkness. So this is it for the Dark Contracts. There's a world where you play Dark Contract with the Witch, but this card really is like a miniature floodgate, you know what I mean? So it literally says, as long as you have 2 DDD cards in your Pendulum Zones, your opponent cannot target monsters on the field, period, with spell trap effects, which is really awesome. But they also cannot use them on field for a Tribute Summon, material for a Fusion Synchro XYZ Summon. So it's literally like a Vanity's Emptiness or a Floodgate for all these other decks that aren't like Links. But here's the thing, right, is if Links, most of the time you have the ability to check Links in a way, which is really crazy just because of your inboard and stuff like that. So like you're not too worried about the Link monsters, but you're locking them out of the other 4 major summoning mechanics, which is pretty crazy. But that is it for the Dark Contracts. Like I said, again, these is another 1-card combo, and these are pretty wild. Just also, like I said earlier, just to reiterate, if you open either one of these with Kepler, you're able to use your Queen to place this card right directly from the deck, and then you're immediately immune to like board breakers such as Super Poly, which our locals is full of like branded Draco Tail, so like you do have that ability to beat those cards, which is kind of all. This is also how you beat Droplet and like Dark Ruler, because if you don't place it with the Machinex, you just set it, and then when they go Dark Ruler or Droplets, as long as Dark Droplets don't send a trap card, you can chain this and then chain Siegfried to target the Droplets or the Dark Ruler and negate it. So this deck really just has everything to beat a lot of major board breakers in the game. But it's like, what is it? Like if you activate this from the deck trying to play around Super Poly, you're just going to get Droplets. If you hold it, then in the frame 1, they're going to Super Poly your stuff. So, however, I feel like, yeah, you can't respond to Super Poly. Yeah, so that's why Super Poly is insane. I was about to say you could chain this to Super Poly, but you can't. You can't respond to Super Poly. But now the rest of this is non-engine, which is really cool. The deck has the ability to play a lot of non-engine because it has a lot of 1-card starters. And what's kind of wild with this deck is every 1-card starter, if you pair it with another 1-card starter, is like an extender in a way. So like your Kepler gets negated, you activate Queen, Queen gets you comboing. It's really like a circle that leads into each other, which is really nice. But moving on, here is the non-engine. We are on to triple Ash Blossom, essentially here to hit Fuas. We are on to triple Droll and Lockbird. Again, we only play this card, I feel like, because of 2 reasons. Well, 2 reasons. It is a good card against the Mitsurugi matchup, but also because of Molchummy. The only hand trap this deck truly struggles against is the Molchummy. But if you do get Molchummy and you don't have any ways to stop the Molchummy, you can set up like a 4 or 5 interruption board with only giving them like 2 or 3 draws, which is decent, right? Maybe I'm getting that number like a 3 interruption board without giving them, you know, that many draws, but essentially you droll yourself after sometimes you can droll yourself earlier on. Essentially you're drawing yourself after Solomon, but if you already have access to Griffin, you can droll yourself after the Solomon. But most of the time you can just droll yourself after you summon King Tell, because once you summon King Tell, you're just off to the races. So you get a total of like 3 draws, and then you just set up your board. Speaking of the devil, 3 Molchummy. Of course, you're not going to win the die roll all the time, so this card literally just is so good. I am on to triple Imperm, because again, a non-once per turn hand trap, and also good to top deck when going second. And then another good reason to play this deck is triple Dominus Impulse. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 non-engine right here. And then I play the Holy Trinity of Call by, Crossout, and Tactics for extra space here. Or for extra, non-engine, because these 2 cards at a minimum to answer the Mulchummy, right? So technically we have 3, 6, 8 cards. We have more cards to counter Mulchummy, and so we have a higher percentage to see cards to counter Mulchummy than the opponent actually does to see a Mulchummy. And that's what I really wanted to play under. Sometimes, if you guys will check out that, when you guys watch that video of the feature match, sometimes there's one Ash Blossom ends your turn. So, like, you still need these type of cards to be able to combo through. And I mean that very wholeheartedly because, like, I had 3 cards left in my hand, and one was Kepler, and then it was, like, 2 of the brick scales in my hand. So it's just one of those things where it's like, if your if all you have is your 1-card starter and it gets ashed, what are you supposed to do, right? The deck, like, you know what I mean? It is what it is, but, sometimes you do need these cards to answer, like, Ashes and Imperms. Essentially not, cross out to answer Ash and Imperms, and sometimes even Dominus, depending on the deck you're playing against, Malice and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's it for my non-engine. You could definitely, I think the list is currently at 42 cards, so you could definitely throw in a Nightmare or a Dark Mastery or whatever it is to increase your count to 12 1-card starters. But, yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed this non-engine lineup a lot. Sometimes you're opening 3 different hand traps and a 1-card starter, and that's like the name of the game right now. The extra deck is, I think there's only 1 flex card, and you can play whatever you want. I've been testing it, but this extra deck is very xenophobic, and if you guys are Space Marines or, Warhammer 40k fan, you know what that means, but it just essentially means that this deck really doesn't play well with any other cards. I actually got Contact Seed at locals, and there's nothing I can do about Contact Seed. I have to Tribute Summon over it, which is terrible to do, but anyway, onto the extra deck. We're onto triple Gilgamesh. I think when Alfred comes out, you can cut this down to 2, but I've also used 3, but I feel like I've used 3 because I'm bad with the deck still. I'm still learning the deck, so once I get more in tune with it, I'll be able to successfully cut it down to 2 and play safe. And then we're on to DDD Sky King Zeus Ragnarok. This card is literally your nib check. If they don't hit you when you get to your Gilgamesh, you just get to this and it's too late. This card has been used primarily for hitting Fiendsmith Engravers at my local. We have a lot of Fiendsmith slop going around, so as soon as they activate Engraver, you just use this or hitting Havakiri, one of the 2. But that's it for the Link Monsters. That's it for the DDD Link Monsters, period. There's no other Link Monsters. But moving on to the XYZs, I am on to 2 DDD Divisor King Deus Machina X, or Machine X. So yeah, there's the second Machine X that I mentioned earlier. So it's Queen and then this guy. This guy, the King and the Queen, am I right? This card is pretty crazy. It is a once per chain, detach 2 or destroy Dark Contract, and non-targeting attach a card from field to him. He's wild. He's what gives you the most interruptions on like Fuwa inboards, because you smack him out and your opponent's drawing like 2 or 3 cards, but you have like 2 Dark Contracts set and a material under him. So he's essentially like 3 forms of disruption in his self, which is pretty strong. But most of the time, man, this guy is, since players will know he's the most forms of disruption, like when you tell him, I have like 4 disruptions left this guy, 1/1/1, they're just going to be like, the first target's going to be him. Moving on, we have the DDD High Wave, or Wave High King Caesar, as God intended to be made in the deck that he is in, not being cheaped out by Fiendsmith Slop, but it is pretty cool. This card also gives you some Senate follow-up. If he does get destroyed, you're able to, search a Dark Contract. He also, remember, he boosts himself another card, so you're able to make your Zeus and your Siegfried become pretty big for the turn. So it almost means your big bodies are going to stick unless they have spot removal that way. And then we have DD Wise King Solomon. Solomon is also another new card, but it's also insane support. It searches any DD card by detaching Wild. We have the original small Wave King Caesar to be able to search a Dark Contract when it goes to graveyard. So that's how you could potentially search your trap card if you don't want to activate it through the Queen. And then DDD Marksman King Tell, the non-once per turn Foolish Burial of a DDD monster when it goes to graveyard. I'll just take note that if a Dark Contract or DDD is destroyed, you're able to trigger the Queen effect. So sometimes when you're using, you get in combo sequences where you're using Zeus to destroy the King Tell to get additional Pendulum Summon. You can summon out the Queen Machina X, which is pretty cool for non-targeting disruption. And then onto the 2 Synchros, Siegfried and Clovis. Clovis is pretty crazy. Little history lesson for those who don't know. King Clovis is based off a French king. Over here at Team COG, for some reason, we play with, we enjoy decks that have French kings in them, from Charlemagne, King Charles the Great, to King Clovis here. This card is literally a monster reborn from grave or banished. If you have a Dark Contract, you can special summon from graveyard or banished, but if you do not control Dark Contract, you just summon from the banished. This allows you to make, along with Genghis here, you're able to make your Wave King Caesar. And then for the final two, we are onto the Dimensional Arc King, or DDD, Dimensional King Arc Crisis, and then DDD High Flame King Genghis. This card could be cut for literally anything. The Beyond the Pendulum for what the YCS player had. Also, you could play SP. You could play anything you really want in the sense of Genghis. But I thought on the follow-up turn, when you're going to turn 3, you're able to recycle the slime. You summon this to protect yourself from the set back row that the opponents have put out. This card right here is literally cracked MVP. If they do not kill you, this card comes out and you kill them. It's like no debate. I don't think people understand that this right here is like, maybe it was overlooked, but this is one of the best supports that I have seen, like, tremendously. You just hard summon this guy by banishing a Pendulum, Synchro, Fusion, XYZ, and then he comes out, he negates everything on the field, he can attack everything. And if you banish Clovis and Solomon, he does piercing, and he's able to inflict damage equal to the opponent's monster attack, so you're always doing 4,000. It's just wild. Like, essentially, turn 3, you are using everything you have to bait the disruptions the opponents might have been able to set up, and then you're summoning this guy and attacking for game. But yeah, that is it for the profile, guys. Like I said, stay tuned. When I get the Nightmare Thrones and stuff, maybe I'll do a combo video. Comment down below if you guys want to see a combo video, because this deck does have some pretty cool combos. I might show some basic ones just so you guys can see them. But, without further ado, you guys stay safe, stay healthy. This is Charles from Team COG, signing out.